My name is Mrs. Zeiger. Welcome to the three-dimensional drawing lesson here at the Puyallup Public Library. Today you can learn some basic skills in three-dimensional drawing. Focus on drawing a cylinder, a mug, a plant, pot, such as this one, and I'm going to let you have a choice of what you'd like to draw. Then I'll direct you in drawing a cute bunny in a terracotta pot. I'd like to start off with vocabulary. For the vocabulary, we have three-dimensional drawing words that I use often. Shape is what you start learning when you're in kindergarten. The different shapes of a circle, a square, a triangle, a rectangle. And then you learn how to take that shape and make it into a form. A form is three-dimensional. And I'm going to be showing you how to do that in a little while. I'm also going to discuss foreshortening. For foreshortening, it's when you take a circle and you turn it sideways, it looks more like an oval. And so it gives it dimension, and it's very useful in creating a cylinder. I'm going to describe shading and shadow also. So if I refer to those words, I will show you how to draw them, and hopefully you'll be an expert by the end of this class. Usually you use a pencil, and I'm going to talk about the equipment. You need a nice drawing pencil. Just a number 2 is fine to start with. You'll find that there's many different numbers on them as you get more experienced with your drawing. Another thing you're going to need is a good eraser. And I like a ruler, especially when drawing cylinders. And I also have a stylus that helps to blot when you are doing shading. You can use colored pencils, and then a drawing pad is very nice when you're learning drawing. It's nice to keep track of drawing lessons you've learned, and then as you learn a lesson, you can look back on it and you go, oh, that's how to draw that. Oh, that's how to draw stairs. That's how to draw a pencil with shading and shadow. And so this drawing pad helps in reminding you the different lessons. I'm going to start off by showing you how to take the shape of a circle and turn it into a sphere. You're going to start by drawing a circle, and if you have a water bottle, you could use that. Just make sure it's dried off. If you have the bottom of a glass, and draw it light to start it off until you get it right. Then you're going to, if you've got the shape that you like, you're going to reinforce it with a little bit darker tracing. Then at the bottom of the circle, you're going to make it dark. Dark density, dark line. Don't go outside that circle. Just make it dark. As you work your way up, you're going to go lighter and lighter as you go. And pretty soon you're going to fade out. Get so light. You can take your stylus or a piece of cardboard that you have made into like a cone, and it will help to make it smooth. Those lines that you did will make it smoothed out. And you don't have to start off using this. It just makes it, it's fun to use, and it makes it blend. It's a blender. It blends your colors of your black or your gray. Now I'm going to take the shape of a square. It's got 4 equal sides, and they are parallel to one another. And you learn in geometry, it's called a parallelogram. And you take your square, and if it's, mine's not perfect, so if I wanted to make it a little more exact, I would use my ruler to reinforce those lines. And I probably made that too dark, but you would also want to measure it out if you are wanting to make the length the same. The corners are all the same. All four corners are the same also. Now you're going to be drawing 3 parallel lines going the same direction at an angle. They're not going to go, they're not going sideways. They're going up towards the corner of your paper. And if you can make them parallel, that looks wonderful. A lot of my students forget this one at the top needs to be parallel. So parallel lines, all going the same direction. After you've done those are the sides and the top of your box or your cube. You are now going to draw a line to the back of the shape. And mine didn't quite work out with the sizing, so I'm going to extend it to make my cube. And it'll be parallel to the side of your paper, parallel to the front of your cube. To draw the shading and the shadow, you would make it dark on the side, it's light on the top, because the light is coming from up above, and you can make it dark here, and again, if you want, you can add the stylus to make it smooth. Because it's a flat surface, the density is all the same on the side of your cube, where on the sphere it fades out. On the cube, it's all the same on that whole side of that cube. The front of your cube will be lighter than the side. And if you're running out of color, you can always go the other direction. And I'm starting to run out of color, and I need to fix my little China pencil so that more of the color comes down. The next shape I'm going to show you is taking a triangle and turning it into a cone. You start by doing the top part of your triangle, and it looks like an upside down V. To turn it into a cone, you're going to have a curved line in front, and then you're going to start shading on the left-hand side. And because it's a round shape, it's a curved shape, you're going to make it dark on the density and get lighter and lighter as you get closer to the center of the cone until you totally fade out to the center. If for some reason you've gone too far with the dark color, you can use your eraser and pick up some of that color. And you can also use your stylus to expand the color to make it look more gradual. And the more gradual you go, the more realistic, the more dimensional it looks. And as you become an artist, you can practice with these techniques, and you will see you can make much more realistic looking images. I can even overlap just a little bit with my stylus over to the center of my cone. Now we're going to draw the cylinder. We start with the rectangular shape, so 2 parallel lines going to the side of the paper, and when you like your lines there, you can reinforce them with a darker line and your ruler. At the top of your cylinder, rather than a straight line, you're going to make a foreshortened circle that is like an oval. Another word is an oval, but it's taking the round circle and turning it into a shape like this. You have a curved line underneath the cylinder. On the sides of the cylinder, it'll be dark consistent coloring. If you wanted this to be a different color, you could do it in a different color. You could make it with colored pencils. You could do it with paints. And even if you're going to have color, it's okay to start off with pencil or even black, because it will be darker and mixed to the color that you're choosing. And so it's pretty dark on the side. And then as I get closer to the center, it gets lighter and lighter, but going all the way to the bottom of that curved line and all the way to the top of where the foreshortened circle is. You want to keep it going in that direction. And then you fade out a little bit more as you get closer to the center, a little less pressure, a little more fading out. The more gradual you go, the more realistic it will look. So as I get to the close, I've got a really light touch. But you do want to keep it consistent going up and down. Now I'm going to take my stylus and blend it a bit. It's also called a stub. Just helps to make it a little smoother. And then I'm going to extend it past where I had my pencil marks. And again, you can make the cylinder into a can of pop. You could make it into a can of soup. You could have it into a garbage can. You could put lines on it with a zigzag look. You could make a fancy garbage can. If you're going to make this into a ball, you could have it on the ground and you are going to add a shadow. And the shadow is going to be where the dark is. And so it would be dark density, and it could even be darker than the shading on your ball because the light is coming from up above and it is real dark underneath where that shadow is, especially if it's a real sunny day outside and you're on the playground and you want to draw that ball if you're writing a story about a recess game of Foursquare. And so you could turn that ball into a soccer ball, you could turn it into a basketball, just add the details. So now I'm going to show you how you would add the shadow for the cube, and you would have the shadow going behind because it's going to be darker on the away from where the sun is. Now I have made a little bit of a mistake because I've got the light coming this direction on this shape and it's coming this direction on this shape. But that's okay, they're in two different rectangles. There's this one and there's that one. So sometimes you want to keep it consistent in the direction you're going. For my shadow on the cone, I will want it to be an oval shape and it'll be real dark underneath. And it will be consistent density. Consistent means the same density underneath. Because if this cone were showing from, if you were looking down from above, this cone were outside at recess or marking some construction work on the road, you would see the dark shadow underneath. And then for the shadow, it's going to be underneath where it's darker, and it's going to be consistent. Consistent color, all the same color, because the shadow, depending on where the sun is, depending on where the light is, it will be pretty dark. If you want to practice these images, you can go outside and put a can on the ground and you can practice these and see where the shadow and the shading go for a prop. And then of course make it into other things. You be a hat, it could be a cake, very tall cake. Have fun with making your cylinder. To get an idea of things you want to draw, see things that you really like. Years ago when I was teaching school, I used a slow rubber stamp to stamp my students' work. And the students loved it, and they asked me one day to teach how to draw this rabbit. So I started then teaching them the process of drawing a rabbit. When you draw, you always look at the biggest shape in the picture. What is the biggest shape when you see a rabbit? And if it's got really, really long ears, you might say the ears. But if it's a cute bunny, it may have a bigger face and some shorter ears. So to start off with, I'm going to start by making my rabbit's face with a round shape. For the shape of the face, you want to make an oval shape. And I'm leaving a little bit of space here so I can add the paws. And those are the shape of a oval also. And they have a little bit of a curve to the center part where the paws come down, overlapping over the pot. And so I space out where I want things to go lightly and where I'm going to want the pot to go, because his paws are coming over the pot, and the curved lines on the pot. And then I leave a little space, real light, where I want the flower to go in front of my pot. For the shape of the face, I'm going to add texture to the fur. And I'm going to draw my triangle low on the face and a little anchor underneath to create his little mouth. For the eyes, I'm going to make them extra big, and they're like domes. This is an abstract rabbit. It's not realistic. If it was realistic, it would be more like the shape of an almond. I can add a little bit of white to the top where that color is too, if I want to make it look realistic with the eyes. Because sometimes when you look in your neighbor's eyes or look in the mirror, you will see a white gleam at the top of where the color is on your eyes. And I'm going to make this a little darker. You can add eyelashes if you want. For the ears, these come to a point at the top, and I will overlap just a little bit so this one comes in front. And then if you want to add texture, you can add the texture of the fur for the ears. You can have a line for the inside part of the ear. And then for the terracotta pot, I'm going to make two parallel lines to the side. I'll make a line underneath his paws. And then where it overlaps, just a little bit peeking out from below, from on the sides of his paws. I'm going to add a little bit more fur. I'm going to add some whiskers. And then I will complete the sides of the pot, allowing space to draw the flower, which will go in front of the pot. So I'm going to put my flower first so that my lines will not show. Ooh, it did here. So in that case, I could either do a real dark color flower, or I could whiten it out or erase that line. And then I do the lines on the leaves. And you can add lines on the flower if you like to show more detail. For the shading, we're going to have it dark on the side, and then it's going to get lighter and lighter as it goes towards the center. And then underneath the flower, that's why you want to draw your shapes first so you don't shade over your image. But that works fine, you know, fix your mistakes. I make mistakes all the time, I just work with them. So in this case, I might color this flower a deep blue to make it look real bright. And so it's darker on the side and gets lighter. It's a little bit harder to work with when you've got a shape in front of it. And the foreground is what you would call it. The background is what's behind it. So for a background line, I'm going to draw a line behind the pot so it doesn't look like it's in the air. Then I'm going to take my stylus and I'm going to smudge those lines on the terracotta pot. I'm just smudging them makes them smoother and more gradual. I can even smooth it out clear to the edge there. And again, if you don't have one, rather than using your finger, which could work, but it's neater if you use a cardboard or get a stylus. A stub is another word. You can use this because it's picked up some of that color to add texture on the rabbit's fur. Do you see how that brings out the color? You could also use a gray marker if you wanted. You can pick up a pink pencil and color in the nose. You can color in the inside of the ears to give color. I mean, or if you just want to keep it black and white, that's fine too. It's up to you how you want to make your animal in the terracotta pot. You can also do a different animal. In the spring and the summer, you see a lot of wildlife, and you see a lot of terracotta pots out as people decorate their porches and their homes and outside. We have a rabbit that visits our garden in the summer. And so here we have an image of a rabbit in a terracotta pot. If you really like that image and you've practiced it, you can take a rock that you find, and I like them about the size of a fist or a hand, and the smoother the better, and this one is the oval shape. What I did with this is I used acrylic paint to take my rock, painted the background first, and then you're going to paint the image of our rabbit on top of it. When I'm designing with rocks, I like to use a Posca pen. You can buy these at craft stores, and there's all kinds of paint pens. So when you look for a product to use, you would find a paint pen. But the background is used with acrylic paint, and then you use a sealer on top of the rock if you want your rocks to be outside. In this image, I used a little sprig of grass behind it, and so if you wanted to take a green pencil to add a green sprig of color to, so it looks like there's some green in the pot, you could do that. Or if you wanted to add green to your leaf or green grass, and it can curve a little bit because if the pot's there, maybe the grass is growing in that direction, and some of it can even overlap over the pot. So there you have an image of a cute little bunny and one on a rock.